The effects of World War I. As you might expect, lives of many Americans changed with the war effort. Young men were sent off to fight, so this left women at home to take care of many duties. Women took over many of the roles traditionally held by men, both at home and in the workplace. World War I had many other lasting impacts on American society. First, the role of government increased greatly. Government agencies, such as the War Industries Board, the Food Administration, and the Committee on Public Information, influenced greatly how America produced and consumed goods and how Americans viewed government activities. Congress passed many laws that impacted Americans. Sometimes these laws limited the civil liberties of the people. In the name of protecting national security, Congress passed the Espionage and Sedition Acts. These laws made it illegal to interfere with the war effort, the draft, or to make statements critical of our government or the U.S. Constitution. This particular law was challenged in 1919 in the case Schneck versus the United States. Charles Schneck was arrested for telling draftees not to report for military service. He was arrested. Schneck filed suit and claimed that his arrest violated his First Amendment right to freedom of speech. In the end, Schneck lost his case. The Supreme Court ruled that the government indeed could silence free speech when there is a clear and present danger involved. The fear of socialism and communism also spread within the United States. Because of the Bolshevik Revolution, many Americans were afraid that socialists and communists might try to take over our government. People like socialist leader Eugene V. Debs were eyed with mistrust. As a matter of fact, Debs was sentenced to 10 years in prison for criticizing the American government. Only a few years earlier, he'd been a candidate for president. Fear of communism seemed to grip the nation. American citizens did not like the basic idea of communism. Government owns all property, and individual rights mean little compared with the welfare of the state. Many business leaders and government officials were also alarmed by communism. They feared such a communist revolution in the United States. This fear of communism that spread throughout our nation around 1920 became known as the Red Scare. When anarchists tried to assassinate U.S. Attorney General Mitchell Palmer and Standard Oil tycoon John D. Rockefeller, many Americans associated these attacks with communism. In response, Palmer led what came to be known as the Palmer Raids. These raids attempted to search out suspected communists and other subversives, such as new immigrants. Unfortunately, many of these people had committed no crimes, but were arrested and jailed without due process of law. Feelings of nativism grew within our country. Nativism is the belief that native-born citizens should be given preferential treatment above immigrants, giving jobs and the like. Fear of communism and mistrust of immigrants also led to increased membership in hate groups such as the Ku Klux Klan. Although originally targeting African Americans, the Klan grew in numbers and expanded its attacks to Jews, Catholics, and immigrants. Large numbers of Americans joined the Klan. They used fear tactics and violence in order to promote their agenda. Labor unrest grew during this period as well. Many people began to believe that communists were behind the various strikes that occurred by workers. One strike that received a lot of attention was that of the United Mine Workers. Union leader John L. Lewis and his union, the Industrial Workers of the World, also known as the Wobblies, went on strike several times. Lewis openly supported communism, and this certainly concerned government leaders and frightened many citizens. With all of the unrest in the nation in the period following World War I, one thing was for sure: Americans did not want to fight in another war. It was important for Americans and our government to be confident that peace would prevail in Europe. Our government was worried that the devastated German economy might create problems. Would Germany be able to pay off the war reparations demanded of them? The stability of Germany and of other European nations was important if peace were to be maintained. For this reason, United States banker Charles Dawes developed his Dawes Plan. Under this plan, U.S. and European bankers loaned Germany money so that it could pay off its war reparations and boost its economy. People were also worried about the huge buildup of armaments. The United States, Great Britain, and Japan possessed the world's most powerful navies. Concerned that a naval race might lead to conflict, the United States invited Japan, Great Britain, and several other nations to Washington for the Washington Naval Conference. At this conference, the nations agreed to limit their naval strength and reduce the number of warships being built. They believed that this path would deter any future thoughts of aggression. The question became, would actions such as developing the Dawes Plan and holding the Washington Naval Conference bring a lasting peace to the world? As the nation moved into the 1920s, the truth was yet to be seen.